It's no secret that Stanley Kubrick is one of the pioneering directors of the 20th century. His films are meticulously made and demanded a level of perfection that can only truly be attained by a real auteur. And I truly must stress the word auteur since he pretty much assumed control over most aspects of the filmmaking process, from direction and writing to editing, often going down deep rabbit holes in order to research the subjects presented in his films and staging enormous scenes that might require thousands of background actors all working in unison. He often asked for several dozen retakes of the same shot, which resulted in many arguments with his casts and his associates. But it was really his level of perfection that allowed him to achieve such scientific realism and innovation. Sometimes it's just hard to imagine that 2001: A Space Odyssey was released in 1968. This was a time without computers or VFX, yet he was able to create beautiful cinematography and visuals that could easily compete with new film releases. With that being said, this is the second video in a three-part retrospective on Stanley Kubrick. The first video focused on his early years to making documentaries, to making his first feature films, whereas the second video focuses on his rise to fame to acclaimed movie director. The third video will focus on his final movies until his passing in 1999. By the way, if you feel inclined to leave me a comment and let me know what your favorite Stanley Kubrick moment or anecdote is. His career is extensive and covering every aspect of it would take many more than 3 videos. With that being said, let's look at some of the final films that he made as a director. In 1980, Stanley Kubrick released The Shining, which was an adaptation from the novel of the same name written by Stephen King. The film stars Jack Nicholson and has some of the most memorable scenes from any horror film. Kubrick did say before making The Shining that he had a long desire to make the world's scariest movie, involving a series of episodes that would play upon the nightmare fears of the audience. The movie follows Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson, who plays a writer who takes a job as a winter caretaker of a large and isolated hotel in the Rocky Mountains. He spends the winter with his wife and their youngest son, who displays paranormal abilities. During their stay, Jack slowly starts ascending into madness. To make things worse, supernatural horrors start appearing throughout the hotel. On an interesting note, Kubrick gave freedom to the actors to extend the script and even improvise on occasion. Actually, Jack's famous line, "Here's Johnny," in a scene where he is sitting at a typewriter and he unleashes his anger towards his wife, were actually improvisations and not part of the original script. This movie was actually extremely difficult for his actors, as he often demanded up to 70 or 80 retakes of the same scene. One such scene that was performed 127 times was the iconic baseball bat scene where Jack freaks out at his wife as she backs up scared. Shelley Duvall, the actress portraying Wendy Torrance, Jack's wife in The Shining, presented Kubrick with clumps of hair that had fallen out due to the extreme stress of filming. Kubrick, being a pioneer in filmmaking, made extensive use of the newly invented Steadicam, which allowed for smooth handheld camera movement in scenes where a conventional camera track would have been impractical. The Shining opened at the box office with mixed reviews, with even Stephen King himself saying that he detested the movie and disliked Kubrick. With time, this movie garnered enormous success and is even considered 27th greatest thriller film of all time by the American Institute. In 1980, Kubrick met author Michael Herr, who had written a book about the Vietnam War called Dispatches. At the same time, he became interested with Gustav Hashford's war novel, The Short Timers. Together with Herr and Hashford, he began working with them separately on a script. Eventually, he found Hashford's novel, Brutally Honest, and decided to shoot a film that would closely follow that novel. This led to the film Full Metal Jacket, that was released in 1987. The storyline follows a platoon of U.S. Marines throughout their boot camp training for the Marine Corps in South Carolina. The movie primarily focusing on Joker and Pyle, who struggle under their abusive drill instructor, Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, and the experience of 2 of the platoon's Marines in the Vietnamese cities of Da Nang and Hue during the Tet Offensive of the Vietnam War. Showing again the obsessiveness to detail, Kubrick, in order to make the movie look authentic, had over 200 palm trees imported via 40-foot trailers by road from North Africa, and thousands of plastic plants were ordered from Hong Kong to provide foliage for the film. Kubrick also explained that he made the look of the movie realistic by using natural light and achieving a newsreel effect by making the Steadicam shots less steady, which made the movie feel more bleak and serious. Full Metal Jacket did well at the box office but was overshadowed by Oliver Stone's Platoon. Also, when watching the film, it really has a very different contrast between part 1, where they are training at the boot camp in order to get ready to go to war, and the second part, which shows the reality of war and its dark undertones. Kubrick's final film was Eyes Wide Shut, which was released in 1999 and stars Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman as a Manhattan couple on a sexual odyssey. The story of the movie is based on a novella called Traumnovelle, or Dream Story in English. Kubrick changed the location and era of the novella from turn-of-the-century Vienna to 1990s New York City. Even though Kubrick was nearing 70 years of age when he started working on this movie, he worked tirelessly for 15 months in order to have it in theaters by July 1999. This meant that most workdays would go up to 18 hours a day. The film follows a couple, Dr. Bill Hartford and wife Alice, who is shocked when his wife reveals that she had contemplated having an affair a year earlier. Bill becomes obsessed with what his wife told him and embarks on a night-long adventure during which he infiltrates a massive ritualistic secret society. Eyes Wide Shut presents many similarities to Clockwork Orange, where it faced censorship before release. A preview of the film was sent to the cast and producers, but the final cut of the film was only completed mere days before Kubrick's sudden death. Cruise and Kidman, upon watching this movie, had complimented him by saying it was his best film ever. As with many of Kubrick's movies, critics of the film had mixed reviews and didn't do very well at the box office. Even though Kubrick had passed away, there was still a project that Kubrick had intended to direct. That project was called AI, Artificial Intelligence. Throughout the 1980s and early 90s, he had worked extensively with Brian Aldiss on an expansion of his short story, Super Toys, Last All Summer Long, wanting to adapt it into a 3-act film. Following Kubrick's death in 1999, Spielberg took the various drafts and notes left by Stanley Kubrick and his writers and composed a new screenplay based on an early 90-page story treatment written under Kubrick's supervision. AI tells a futuristic fairy tale about a robot that resembles and behaves as a child, and his efforts to become a real boy, in a manner similar to Pinocchio. The reason that Spielberg took such interest in this project is because Kubrick had approached him in 1995 because he wanted him to direct it. Many telephone discussions had ensued regarding the film, but it had never been made. After Kubrick's death, Spielberg felt inhibited to honor him and was able to function autonomously from Kubrick thanks to all the notes that had been left behind him. Spielberg said during production that he felt like he was being coached by a ghost. AI was released in 2001. It contains as a posthumous production credit for Stanley Kubrick at the beginning and a brief dedication for Stanley Kubrick at the end. An interesting note about an unreleased Kubrick film is the fact that following 2001: A Space Odyssey, Kubrick was supposed to direct a film based on the life of French Emperor Napoleon. Fascinated by his life and own self-destruction, Kubrick had spent a long and great deal of time planning on the film's development. The film was well into production and was slated to begin filming in 1969 when MGM canceled the project, citing concerns over the project's enormous budget needs. Once again in 2013, Spielberg showed interest in adapting Kubrick's film script into a TV miniseries. That project has yet to see the light of day. Well, that's it for Kubrick's directed films. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. As always, do leave me a comment too. I really love hearing from you guys, and I'd love to know what your favorite Stanley Kubrick film, effect, or theme is. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.